The child in the snow. The storm did not come quietly. It came like a warning. Snow moved across the frozen land like white fire. The wind screamed between broken metal towers and dead trees. At the far northern border, where human territory ended and dragon lands began, no one traveled in winter. No one except Elias Vorn. Elias was not a soldier. He was not a hero. He was only a scavenger. He searched old battlefields and crashed ships for metal parts and fuel cells. The border was dangerous, but danger paid well. That night, he almost turned back. His scanner showed nothing useful. The storm was too strong. Ice covered the ground like glass. Even his boots slipped. Then he heard it. At first, he thought it was the wind. A thin sound. Soft. Weak. Again. A cry. Elias stopped walking. His breath froze in the air. He turned off his scanner and listened. There was again. Not human. Not animal. It sounded like a child trying not to cry too loud. Impossible, he whispered. No one lived this close to Dragonlands. Slowly, he followed the sound. It came from behind a crashed transport ship, half buried in snow. The metal was burned black. Old war damage. The cry came from under it. Elias moved pieces of broken steel carefully. His gloves froze. His fingers hurt. The sound became clearer. He pushed one final metal sheet aside, and he froze. Curled inside a hollow space was a small body. Not human. A dragon child. Its scales were pale silver, but cracked from cold. Small wings lay folded against its back, too young to fly. Its tail wrapped around itself for warmth. And around its neck, chains. Black metal chains, carved with strange glowing marks. The dragon child's eyes opened slowly. Bright gold. Not wild. Not angry. Just tired. Elias felt something heavy inside his chest. Someone had chained a dragon child. Left it here, in the snow, to die. The dragon tried to lift its head, but failed. Its small claws scratched weakly against the ice. Elias looked around quickly. If dragons were near, he was dead. If human patrol saw this, he was also dead. This was not just a creature. This was the start of war. The dragon made a soft sound again. Not a roar. A cry. Elias made his decision. All right, he said quietly. You're not dying here. He stepped closer. The moment his glove touched the chain, pain exploded through his hand. The chain burned bright red. Strange symbols lit up. Elias fell back into the snow, breathing hard. Smoke rose from his glove. The dragon child stared at him. The chains were not normal metal. They were dragon-made. Ancient. Sealed with magic. The child moved again, trying to reach him. It was not afraid. That made it worse. Elias swallowed. If I leave you, you die, he muttered. If I take you, I might die. The storm answered with a loud scream of wind. Far away, beyond the mountains, deep inside Dragonlands. Something moved. Ancient eyes opened in the darkness. A low rumble passed through the earth. Back at the crash site, Elias forced himself up. He removed his glove carefully. His hand was red but not burned badly. This time, he touched the dragon, not the chain. The dragon's skin was freezing. Too cold. The child leaned weakly into his hand. Trust. That's simple. Elias felt anger rise inside him. Who would do this? Who would chain a child? He pulled out a small cutting torch from his pack. It was made to cut ship doors, not magical chains. But he had to try. He aimed a flame at the first link. The chain resisted. Then sparks flew. The symbols glowed brighter. The dragon cried out softly, but not in pain. In hope. Stay still, Elias whispered. The storm grew stronger. Snow covered his shoulders. His hair froze. The torch flickered. Finally, one chain link snapped. The sound echoed louder than it should have. The ground shook. Elias looked up quickly. For a moment, he thought he saw a shadow move across the clouds. Too large to be human. Too large to be normal. He cut the second chain. Then the third. Each snap felt like something breaking far beyond this place. When the final chain fell away, the glowing symbols disappeared. The dragon collapsed forward. Elias caught it in his arms. It was lighter than he expected. Too light. The dragon looked up at him. Its golden eyes were brighter now. It lifted one small claw and pressed it against Elias' chest. Suddenly, heat spread through his body. A glowing mark formed under his jacket. He gasped. Not pain. Power. Something ancient. Something alive. The dragon closed its eyes and slept. The storm began to calm. But far away, in the Dragonlands, horns began to sound. In human command centers, warning sensors flashed red. Unknown energy detected at the border. Two worlds had felt it, and both would come searching. Elias looked down at the sleeping dragon child in his arms. He did not understand what had happened. He did not know about ancient bonds. He did not know about dragon heirs. He only knew one thing. He could not leave the child behind. He pulled his coat around the small dragon and began walking toward his transport vehicle. Behind him, the broken chains slowly turned to ash in the snow. Above him, high beyond the clouds, something powerful watched, and it was awake. The mark of fire. Elias did not stop walking until the storm disappeared behind him. The dragon child slept in his arms, wrapped inside his heavy coat. Its small body was warmer now, but the glow under Elias' jacket had not faded. The mark on his chest still burned softly. Not painful, but alive. By the time he reached his old bunker outside the mining town of Gray Hollow, night had fully fallen. The town lights flickered weakly in the distance. No one here asked questions. Everyone had secrets. Elias sealed the bunker door behind him. Steel walls. No windows. Old military storage turned into his workshop. Safe. At least he hoped so. He laid the dragon child carefully on a thick cloth near the heater core. The small creature moved slightly, then opened its golden eyes. This time, the fear was gone. But something else was there. Awareness. You're safe, Elias said quietly, though he did not know if dragons understood human words. The dragon studied him. Then slowly, it lifted its claw again. Before Elias could move, the claw touched his chest, exactly where the mark had formed. The symbol burned brighter under his shirt. Elias gasped and fell to one knee. Images flooded his mind. Fire in the sky. Dragons flying beside human ships. A broken crown. A throne of stone and flame. Then, chains. Betrayal. Exile. Elias pulled away, breathing hard. The dragon blinked, confused, as if it had not meant to hurt him. That wasn't just a touch, Elias whispered. That was a message. The heater flickered. Lights inside the bunker dimmed. Energy readings on his old scanner suddenly spiked. Unknown power source detected. Location. Internal. Elias stared at the dragon. You're not just lost, are you? The dragon slowly tried to stand. Its legs shook. It stumbled. Elias reached to help, and the air inside the bunker suddenly became hot. Too hot. The dragon's small body began to glow faint red between its scales. Its eyes widened in fear. No, easy, Elias said quickly. The dragon opened its mouth. A burst of flame shot forward. Not wild. Not attacking. The flame hit the dead heater core. Metal glowed. The machine roared back to life. Warm air filled the bunker. The dragon closed its mouth and blinked, almost surprised. Elias stared at the heater, then at the dragon. You fixed it. The child tilted its head slightly. Almost proud. Elias let out a short breath of disbelief. A baby dragon who repairs machines. That's new, but far away, in the Dragonlands, things were not calm. Inside a massive volcanic fortress, 3 ancient dragon warlords stood before a pool of molten stone. The lava surface reflected a glowing symbol. The same symbol burning on Elias' chest. The mark has awakened, one warlord growled. That is impossible, another hissed. The air was exiled. The bond was forbidden, the third said quietly. And yet it has chosen. Silence filled the chamber. Then the first warlord spoke again. Find the child. And the human? A pause. Kill him. Back in Gray Hollow, Elias felt a sudden chill despite the heat in the bunker. His scanner beeped again. Multiple signals approaching the border. Fast. Airborne. Not human aircraft. Elias turned off the device immediately. They're coming, he muttered. The dragon seemed to sense it too. Its body tensed. Not in fear. In readiness. The small creature walked toward the bunker door and looked up at it, like it understood that danger was outside. Elias knelt beside it. Listen, if someone finds you, they won't see a child. They'll see a weapon. The dragon looked back at him. No fear, only trust. That trust hit Elias harder than any threat. He stood and moved quickly. He pulled out old signal blockers and activated them. The bunker hummed softly as the shielding system powered up. It was weak. It would not hide them for long. Outside, the wind had fully stopped. The silence was worse. Then, a deep sound rolled across the sky. Not thunder. Wings. Massive wings. Elias froze. The dragon child stepped closer to him. The mark on Elias' chest burned brighter. Suddenly, the bunker walls trembled. Dust fell from the ceiling. A powerful voice echoed in the air outside, not spoken in words, but in pressure. A dragon call. Searching. Commanding. Elias clenched his fists. They know. The dragon child moved in front of him. Small body. Tiny wings. Standing like a shield. Elias felt something shift inside him. He was not a warrior. Not trained. Not special. But the mark pulsed with heat. And for a brief second, he understood something clearly. This child was not just saved by him. He was chosen. The dragon looked back at him one more time. And in its golden eyes, Elias saw fire. Not destruction. Leadership. Power waiting to grow. Outside, shadows moved across the bunker roof. Claws scraped metal. The war had not started yet, but it was no longer far away. Elias picked up his old pulse rifle. He checked the power cell. Low charge. Not enough for a dragon. He looked down at the child. You probably should have picked someone stronger, he said quietly. The dragon blinked once, then pressed its claw to his leg. The mark flared bright. Heat spread through Elias' arms. The pulse rifle hummed louder. Energy levels rising. Impossible. Elias stared at the weapon, then slowly smiled. All right, he whispered. If they want you, they'll have to go through me. Outside, a massive dragon shape landed heavily in the snow. Red eyes burned in the darkness. The hunt begins. The bunker did not break, but it bent. Steel walls groaned under the weight above. Snow fell from the ceiling in thin white dust. Outside, claws scraped slowly across the roof, not in anger, but in control. The dragon was not attacking. It was listening. Inside, Elias held the pulse rifle tightly. The weapon hummed with strange energy from the mark on his chest. The glow under his jacket pulsed in rhythm with the dragon child beside him. The small dragon did not hide. It stood still, watching the door. Outside, a deep shadow moved past the only air vent. A massive eye passed across the opening, red, sharp, ancient. Then a voice echoed through the metal, not spoken in human words, but Elias understood it. Return the air. Elias felt the words in his bones. Air. So it was true. The dragon child was not just lost. He was important. Very important. Elias stepped forward. You left him to die, he said, even though he knew the creature outside might not care. The ground trembled slightly. He was exiled, the voice replied, heavy and cold. The weak do not rule. The dragon child suddenly growled. Not loud, but strong. The sound surprised Elias. It was not the cry of a baby anymore. It was defiance. The red eye outside narrowed. You have bonded, the dragon voice said slowly. That should not be possible. The mark on Elias' chest flared bright again. Heat spread through his veins. Guess you're wrong, Elias answered. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the bunker door exploded inward. Metal tore like paper. Snow and cold air rushed inside. Standing in the open doorway was a massive black-scaled dragon. His wings stretched wide, filling the night behind him. Smoke rolled from his nostrils. His eyes locked onto the child. Come, the dragon commanded. The small dragon did not move. Instead, he stepped closer to Elias. The warlord's eyes shifted to the human. You do not understand what you hold. Elias lifted the rifle. Try me. The dragon opened his mouth. Flames gathered inside. Elias fired first. The pulse rifle screamed with power far beyond its normal limit. A beam of bright blue energy shot forward and struck the dragon's chest. The impact pushed the massive creature back a step. A step. For something that size, that was shocking. The dragon's eyes widened slightly. Impossible, he growled. The mark on Elias' chest burned like fire. He felt stronger, faster, not like magic, but like something ancient guiding him. The dragon roared and launched forward. But the small dragon suddenly leaped into the air. Tiny wings spread wide, and for the first time, he roared. The sound was not large, but it was pure. Golden light burst from his body. The air shook. The black dragon stopped mid-step. His flames died before leaving his mouth. The golden light struck him directly, not burning, not destroying, commanding. The warlord staggered backward. The child landed hard on the ground, breathing fast. Elias stared. That was no normal hatchling. The black dragon lowered his head slowly. There was no fear in his eyes, but there was recognition. "You carry the blood of the first flame," he said quietly. The small dragon growled again. Elias stepped in front of him. "You're not taking him." The warlord's gaze moved between them. "The council will not stop," he said. "Others are already flying." As if answering his words, 3 distant shapes appeared in the sky. More dragons. Faster. "You have started something you cannot finish, human." The warlord spread his wings. Snow blasted outward as he took to the sky. Before disappearing into the clouds, his voice echoed one last time. "Run!" Silence fell over Gray Hollow. Elias lowered the rifle slowly. The small dragon swayed on his feet, exhausted. Elias caught him before he fell. "You're full of surprises," Elias whispered. But the scanner on the wall suddenly screamed with alarms. Multiple incoming signals. And not just dragons. Human military ships were approaching fast. The energy spike from a mark. The weapon discharge. Both had been detected. "They're coming too," Elias muttered. The dragon child looked toward the sky again. This time, his eyes were not just golden. They burned brighter. Determined. Elias moved quickly. He grabbed supplies, fuel packs, survival gear. The bunker was no longer safe. Outside, searchlights from distant human aircraft cut across the clouds. Loudspeakers echoed from above. Unidentified energy source detected. "Surrender immediately." Elias looked down at the dragon. "Surrender you to them?" "Not happening." The child stepped toward the broken doorway. Snow fell softly now, calm before a storm. Elias followed. They moved toward his old transport vehicle hidden behind rocks. As they climbed inside, the sky roared again. One dragon shadow passed across the moon, then another, and from the opposite direction, human fighters. 2 forces, 1 target. Elias started the engine. The vehicle struggled, then roared to life. As he drove toward the mountain roads, explosions lit up the sky behind him. Dragons clashed with human aircraft above the border. The war had not officially begun, but it had begun around them. The small dragon sat beside Elias, watching the sky burn with silent focus. Elias glanced at him. "You didn't just survive exile," he said softly. "You're going to change everything." Far above, hidden beyond the clouds, a larger shadow watched the battle without moving. Ancient, older than the warlords, older than human cities, and it was waiting. The hunt was no longer just about capture. It was about control, and both worlds were moving closer to open war. The ruins of the first flame. The mountain road was not on any map. Elias drove without lights. Snow covered the narrow path, and cliffs dropped into darkness on both sides. Behind them, the sky still flashed with distant explosions. The dragon child sat quietly in the passenger seat, watching, not afraid, waiting. Elias followed something he did not understand. The mark on his chest pulsed softly, almost like a compass. Each time he turned the vehicle the wrong way, the heat sharpened. When he followed the right direction, it calmed. It was guiding him. "All right," Elias muttered. "You're leading. I'm just driving." Hours later, the engine finally stopped near a cliff face covered in ice. There was nothing there. Just stone, wind, silence. The mark suddenly flared bright. The dragon child jumped out of the vehicle before Elias could stop him. "Hey, wait." The small dragon walked toward the cliff. Each step left a faint golden glow in the snow. When he reached the stone wall, he lifted his claw and pressed it forward. The mountain shook. Ice cracked. Ancient symbols ignited across the rock face. Then the cliff opened. Not broken, not destroyed. Opened. A massive doorway revealed a hidden chamber inside the mountain. Warm air flowed outward. Elias stared in shock. This place was never on any map. Inside, the chamber was enormous. The walls were carved with dragons and humans standing side by side, not fighting, together. In the center stood a massive stone platform shaped like a throne. Above it burned an eternal flame, golden, steady, silent. The dragon child walked slowly toward the platform. The moment his claw touched the stone, the entire chamber lit up. Images formed in the air. Holograms of the past. Elias saw humans and dragons flying together against a dark enemy. He saw cities built by both races. He saw a crown placed upon a dragon with silver scales. Then, he saw betrayal. Dragon warlords turning against the crowned dragon. Chains. Exile. The silver dragon carried away as the human allies were pushed back by force. The image froze. The crowned dragon's eyes were the same golden color as the child beside him. Elias swallowed slowly. "You're not just an heir." The dragon turned toward him. The golden flame above the throne suddenly changed shape. It lowered, forming a ring of fire around the child, but did not burn him. It bowed. A deep voice filled the chamber. Not from outside, from the flame itself. "The blood of the first flame has returned." Elias stepped back. "Who said that?" The flame shifted again, forming the shape of a massive dragon head made of fire. "Guardian spirit," the voice answered, "bound to this sanctuary." The child stepped forward fearlessly. The flame spoke again. He was not exiled for weakness. Elias felt his chest tighten. Then why? The fire flickered darker for a moment. Because he was chosen to unite. The chamber trembled slightly. The warlords fear unity more than war. Elias looked at the dragon child. "You were chained because you could end their power." The dragon nodded slowly, understanding. Outside the mountain, distant roars echoed. They were closer now. The guardian flame dimmed. "They have followed." Elias' heart pounded. "How many?" The flame's eyes burned brighter. "Enough to destroy this mountain." The dragon child climbed the steps of the stone platform and stood upon it. The golden flame wrapped around him. His small body began to change. Scales hardened. Wings stretched wider. Not fully grown, but stronger. More powerful. Elias stared. "You're evolving." The guardian flame turned toward Elias. "The bond strengthens him." Elias shook his head. "I'm just a scavenger." The flame's voice became firmer. "You are the first human in centuries to accept a dragon without fear." Outside, the mountain shook violently. A powerful blast hit the entrance. Stone cracked. Snow fell from above. The warlords had arrived. The dragon child stepped down from the platform. His eyes no longer looked like a lost child. They looked like a future king. Elias grabbed his rifle again. The weapon glowed brighter than before. "You ready for this?" he asked quietly. The dragon answered with a small but fierce roar. The entrance exploded inward. 3 massive dragons forced their way into the outer tunnel. Red scales, black horns, battle scars across their bodies. The leader stepped forward. "In this rebellion," he commanded. The chamber trembled as flames began to gather in their mouths. But before they could strike, the golden flame above the throne expanded outward. A shield of pure light surrounded Elias and the dragon child. The warlord's fire slammed into it. The mountain roared, but the shield held. The leader growled in anger. "You hide behind ancient ghosts." The dragon child stepped outside the shield. Elias' heart stopped. "No!" But the guardian flame did not block him. The child stood alone before the 3 warlords. Small, young, but unafraid. His voice was not loud, but it echoed through the chamber. "I do not hide." Golden energy burst from his body. The carvings on the walls came alive. Dragon spirits formed in the air. Ancient warriors, watching, judging. The warlords hesitated for the first time, because this was no longer just about power. This was about legacy, and the child they had chained was not broken. He was rising. Outside the mountain, more shadows circled in the sky. And far beyond them all, something much larger was moving. Awake, watching, waiting for the true king to claim his place. The war had shifted. It was no longer about survival. It was about destiny, the fire that divides. The mountain could not hold much longer. Cracks spread across the ancient chamber walls. Stone fell from the ceiling. Outside, the sky was filled with dragon shadows. The warlords had not come alone this time. They had brought an army. Inside the sanctuary, golden dragon spirits hovered in silence. They did not attack. They watched. The three warlords stepped forward together. "You stand on old legends," the leader growled. "But legends do not win wars." The dragon child stood firm in the center of the chamber. His wings were wider now. His silver scales glowed faint gold under the light of the eternal flame. Elias moved to stand beside him. Not behind, beside. The mark on his chest burned brighter than ever. "You want him," Elias said calmly. "Come take him." The warlord laughed, a deep, shaking sound. "You think you are equals?" Elias raised his rifle. "No," he answered, "but I don't need to be." Outside the mountain, something new entered the sky. Human warships, large armored carriers with blue engine trails. They had tracked the energy bursts from the sanctuary. Now they hovered near the mountain peak. Searchlights cut through the storm clouds. Loudspeakers echoed across the valley. Unknown hostile entities detected. All dragon life forms will be neutralized. The warlords turned their heads toward the sound. For a moment, even they were surprised. Then the leader smiled slowly. "Good," he said. "Let them begin." The first human missile fired. It streaked through the sky and struck one of the outer dragons. The explosion lit up the mountain in white light. A roar of pain shook the valley. And just like that, war exploded. Dragons dove from the clouds, flames raining down toward human ships. Human cannons fired back, energy beams cutting across the sky. Snow turned to steam. Inside the sanctuary, the chamber trembled harder. The warlord leader looked at the dragon child again. "Your existence divides two worlds," he said. "This is your fault." The dragon child's eyes burned brighter. "No," he answered quietly. "It is yours." Before anyone could move, the warlord lunged forward. Massive claws tore across the stone floor. Elias fired his rifle directly at the warlord's face. The energy blast forced the dragon to turn, but it was not enough to stop him. The warlord's tail slammed into Elias. He crashed into a stone pillar. Pain exploded through his body. The mark flared wildly. The dragon child roared. This time, the roar was not small. It shook the entire chamber. Golden fire erupted from his body, not outward, but upward. The eternal flame above the throne reacted instantly. It expanded, forming wings of light behind the child. For a moment, he looked ancient, not young, not weak. The warlord stepped back. The dragon child lifted into the air slightly, carried by golden fire. "You chained me," he said. "You feared unity." The spirits along the walls roared together. Outside, one of the human carriers was struck by dragon flame. It spiraled downward toward the valley below. Screams echoed through open channels. Elias forced himself to stand, ignoring the pain. "This is getting worse," he muttered, because it was no longer just dragons against humans. It was chaos. The dragon child suddenly flew toward the open entrance of the mountain. Elias shouted, "Wait!" But the child did not stop. He burst out into the open sky. The battlefield froze for 1 second. Dragons and humans both looked at the glowing figure rising between them. Golden light spread outward like a sunrise. The dragon child hovered in the center of the war and roared, not in anger, not in attack, in command. The sound rolled across the sky like thunder. Every dragon stopped mid-flight. Human pilots hesitated. The roar carried something ancient inside it. Authority. The warlord leader burst out of the mountain behind him. "You have no throne," he roared. "No army." The dragon child turned slowly in the air. "I have both." The clouds above suddenly split apart. A massive shape descended from the storm, larger than any dragon present. Its scales were dark gold. Its wings blocked the moonlight. Ancient scars marked its body. It landed between the armies with earth-shaking force. Silence fell across the battlefield. The new arrival did not roar. It did not threaten. It simply looked at the warlords and bowed its head slightly toward the child. Shock spread through the warlord ranks. The first guardian, one whispered. The ancient dragon lifted its head and spoke with a voice like moving mountains. The air stands. The warlord leader growled in anger. You would follow a child? The guardian's eyes burned bright. I follow the flame. The dragon child slowly descended to stand beside the guardian. He was still small compared to the massive warriors around him. But now he was no longer alone. Elias stepped out of the mountain, watching in disbelief. One child, one bond, and now the battlefield had changed. But far above, beyond even the clouds, dark shapes moved, silent, watching, because not all dragons supported the air, and not all humans wanted peace. The war had paused, but it was far from over. And this time, both worlds had chosen sides. The awakening of the Titan. The battlefield did not breathe. It waited. The first guardian stood like a mountain of gold between dragons and human warships. Snow swirled around his massive wings. The dragon child stood beside him, small but shining like a second sun. For a moment, there was silence. Then the sky cracked, not with lightning, with something deeper. A sound rolled across the world, slow, heavy, ancient. From beneath the mountain, the ground split open across the valley. Ice shattered. Human tanks lost balance. Dragons pulled back in alarm. Elias felt the mark burn, so hot he dropped to one knee. This isn't just a guardian, he whispered. The earth exploded upward. From the broken stone, a shape rose that made even the first guardian look small. Scales like black iron, eyes like molten gold, wings torn by time, but still wider than warships. A titan dragon, older than kingdoms, older than war. He did not roar. He inhaled, and the wind stopped across the entire valley. Every dragon lowered their wings. Every human pilot froze in their cockpit. The Titan's voice did not echo in the air. It echoed inside minds. The bond has returned. The dragon child stepped forward without fear. The Titan's massive gaze lowered to him. You carry the flame of unity. The warlord leader snarled, though even his voice shook slightly. He carries weakness. The Titan's eyes shifted slowly toward the warlord. No, the Titan answered. He carries balance. The mark on Elias' chest flared brighter than ever before. Golden lines spread across his arms like living fire. The Titan's gaze moved to him next. And you, the ancient being said, are the bridge. Elias swallowed hard. I didn't ask for this. The Titan's deep voice softened slightly. None who are worthy ever do. The warlord leader roared suddenly and launched into the air. This ends now. He gathered every dragon loyal to him and dove toward the Titan and the child in one massive charge. The sky turned red with flame. Human warships powered weapons, unsure who to attack. Chaos returned in an instant. But this time, the Titan moved. He spread his wings once. Just once. A shockwave of pure force blasted outward, extinguishing dragon fire midair. Human missiles lost guidance and fell harmlessly into the snow. The Titan stepped forward. Each step cracked the valley floor. You fight for power, he thundered. But power without unity destroys worlds. The warlord leader attacked directly, claws glowing with dark fire. He struck the Titan's chest. The impact shook the valley. But the Titan did not fall. Instead, he lowered his head and exhaled. Not flame. Light. Pure golden light. It struck the warlord and hurled him across the sky like a falling star. The warlord crashed into the mountainside and did not rise. The remaining rebel dragons hesitated. The dragon child lifted into the air again. But this time, he did not shine alone. The mark on Elias' chest connected with him. A beam of golden fire stretched between human and dragon. Energy flowed both ways. The child's body began to change again. Wings grew larger. Horns curved back from his head. His voice deepened, not fully grown, but no longer a hatchling. He roared, and this roar shook both armies. It was not a demand. It was a promise. The rebel dragons began to lower their heads. One by one, submission. The first guardian moved behind the child, protective but silent. Human warships hovered uncertainly. Inside the command carrier, alarm screamed. Energy levels off the scale. Unknown power classification, world-level threat. A general's voice echoed over open channels. Target the large one. Weapons locked onto the Titan. Elias saw it happen. No, he shouted. Too late. A full energy barrage fired from the carrier. The blast struck the Titan directly. Light swallowed his massive form. The valley held its breath. When the smoke cleared, the Titan still stood, but cracks spread across his ancient scales. Dark energy leaked from the wounds. The Titan turned slowly toward the human ships. I will not destroy you, he said quietly, but I will end this war. He lifted one claw and struck the ground. A ring of golden energy spread across the valley, passing through dragons and humans alike. Engines shut down. Weapons powered off. Fire vanished. Silence fell completely. The Titan's voice filled every mind again. Choose now. The dragon child hovered in the center of the still sky. Elias stood beneath him, glowing with a mark. War, the Titan continued, or unity. The rebel dragons lowered themselves fully to the snow. The first guardian bowed again. Human warships powered down completely. For the first time in centuries, the battlefield did not burn. It listened. The Titan turned his ancient gaze toward the child one last time. My time ends, he said softly. Cracks across his body spread wider. Light began escaping from within him. You will finish what we failed to protect. The dragon child descended slowly to the ground. No, he said, but the Titan only smiled. With one final breath of golden light, the Titan shattered into thousands of glowing fragments that rose into the sky like stars. The storm clouds disappeared. Moonlight returned. The war was not won, but something greater had happened. An age had ended, and a new one had begun. Elias looked at the dragon beside him. You're not just changing two worlds anymore, he said quietly. You're rebuilding them. Far away, deep within hidden fortresses. Not all enemies had surrendered. Some watched in silence, planning, because peace is fragile, and power always attracts shadows. The true test had only just begun. The flame that unites. The valley no longer burned. But it was not peaceful. It was quiet in a different way. The kind of quiet that comes after something ancient dies. The glowing fragments of the Titan still drifted in the sky like falling stars. Dragons stood motionless across the snow. Human warships hovered without weapons. No one spoke first. The dragon child, no, not a child anymore, stood at the center of the valley. His wings were larger now. His silver scales carried thin lines of gold. His eyes were calm, but no longer uncertain. Elias walked to his side. The mark on his chest had stopped burning. Now it felt steady, balanced. The first guardian lowered his massive head. The Titan has passed the judgment to you, he said. The young dragon looked at the humans in the sky, then at the dragons kneeling in the snow. This war ends now, he said. His voice carried across the valley without shouting. The human command carrier opened a channel. This is General Rhine of the Northern Fleet. Identify yourself. The dragon lifted his head. I am Kael Rin, he answered clearly, heir of the first flame. A pause followed. Then the general's voice returned, cautious but steady. You are responsible for the energy surge and destruction at the border. Kael Rin did not deny it. I am responsible for stopping it. Murmurs spread across open channels. Inside the dragon ranks, a few warlords still stood without bowing. Their eyes were dark, watching, waiting. One of them stepped forward. You speak of peace, the warlord said coldly. But dragons rule through strength. Kael Rin turned toward him. And what has your strength given us? He asked calmly. The warlord did not answer. Burned cities, broken alliances, chains. Elias stepped forward. Strength without trust is just fear, he said. Several dragons growled softly at a human speaking among them. But none attacked. Kael Rin spread his wings. Humans are not our enemies, he said. Fear made us enemies. The first guardian moved behind him, a silent wall of support. Above them, the fragments of the Titan's body began to glow brighter. Suddenly, a sharp explosion sounded from the eastern ridge. A hidden human defense cannon fired without command. The blast streaked toward Kael Rin. Elias saw it too late. He moved without thinking. He pushed Kael Rin aside. The blast struck Elias directly. Light swallowed him. The valley roared again. When the smoke cleared, Elias lay motionless in the snow. The mark on his chest flickered weakly. Kael'Rin's roar shattered the silence. This was not a command, not leadership. This was pain. Every dragon in the valley felt it. Kael'Rin rushed to Elias' side. "Stay with me," he said, voice shaking. The human fleet scrambled to disable the rogue cannon. Orders screamed across channels. The warlord who had spoken earlier stepped back slowly. Fear now touched even him. Kael'Rin lowered his head to Elias' chest. The mark glowed faintly under burned fabric. Without hesitation, Kael'Rin pressed his claw over it. Golden fire flowed from dragon to human. Not wild, not destructive, controlled. The fragments of the Titan above reacted instantly. They descended like falling stars and circled around them. The first guardian bowed deeply. "The choice is yours," he said softly. Kael'Rin closed his eyes. "I will not rule through fear," he whispered. The golden light surged. Elias' body lifted slightly from the snow. The mark flared brighter than ever before. For a moment, it looked like Elias was turning into light. Then, he gasped. Air rushed back into his lungs. The golden fire faded. Elias fell back to the ground, breathing hard but alive. Kael'Rin stepped back slowly, exhausted. The valley was silent again. But this silence felt different. Human soldiers watched in shock. Dragons stared with new understanding. The first guardian lifted his head high. "The flame has chosen unity," he declared. One by one, dragons bowed fully, not to power but to purpose. The human general's voice returned, quieter now. "We request dialogue." Kael'Rin looked at Elias, who slowly stood with help. Elias gave a weak smile. "Looks like you just became king," he said. Kael'Rin shook his head gently. "Not king," he answered. "Guardian." Days later, the valley no longer held armies. Instead, it held construction teams. Human engineers and dragons worked side by side to build something new at the border. Not a fortress, an academy. A place where young dragons and human children would learn together. Trust would not come quickly, but it had begun. Elias stood on a ridge overlooking the new foundation. The mark on his chest had changed shape slightly. No longer sharp. Now it looked like a circle, two flames connected. Kael'Rin landed beside him, wings casting long shadows over the snow. "You could have walked away," Kael'Rin said. Elias smiled faintly. "I tried that once," he replied. "Didn't work out." They both looked at the horizon where Dragonlands met human territory. For the first time in generations, there were no patrols. No cannons. Only open sky. But far beyond the mountains, in hidden caves and silent cities, there were still those who hated this peace. Shadows always remain, and peace must be protected. Kael'Rin lifted into the air slowly. Not as a weapon, not as a symbol of fear, but as a guardian of two worlds. Elias watched him rise higher into the sky. One human, one dragon. Two worlds changed. And this time, the fire did not divide them. It united them.